The morning of Aaron Lewis's 69th birthday arrived without fanfare. Sunlight crept through the worn curtains of her modest ranch house in upstate New York, illuminating dust motes that danced in the still air. She woke alone, as she had for the past 15 years since Gerald passed, and lay for a moment listening to the silence. The empty pillow beside her had long since lost her husband's scent. The house, once filled with the chaos of raising a young boy, now echoed with only her footsteps. She'd learned to fill the quiet with routine. Coffee at 7, toast with butter, the morning news playing to voices that weren't her own. Aaron shuffled to the kitchen, her joints protesting the October chill that seeped through the old windows. The calendar on the refrigerator showed today's date circled in red marker, though she'd been the one to circle it. Zachary hadn't called yet, but it was early. He was busy. He had a family, a demanding job at that accounting firm in Manhattan. She understood. Except lately she didn't quite understand. 6 months ago, something had shifted. The Sunday dinners became every other Sunday, then monthly, then "I'll call you, Mom. Things are crazy right now." His voice on the phone carried an edge she'd never heard before. Distracted, almost resentful. During his last visit, he'd barely looked at her, kept checking his phone, left after only an hour. Aaron pushed the thoughts away as she filled the kettle. She was being paranoid. Zachary was under stress. Lauren had mentioned something about work pressures. Or had Lauren been the one who looked stressed? The memory felt slippery. The doorbell rang at 8:15, startling her mid-sip of coffee. Through the frosted glass panel, she could make out the brown uniform of a delivery driver. She opened the door to find a young man holding an elegant black box tied with gold ribbon. "Aaron Lewis? That's me. Special delivery. Sign here, please." Her hand trembled slightly as she signed the electronic pad. Special delivery? She couldn't remember the last time anyone had sent her anything requiring a signature. The box was heavier than it looked, substantial in her hands. Back in the kitchen, she set it on the table and stared. The ribbon was silk, the kind that cost more than the ribbon itself should cost. She pulled the card from beneath the bow. "To Mom, with love. Z." Her throat tightened. Zachary had remembered. Not just remembered, he'd sent something extravagant, something that looked expensive. Maybe she'd been wrong. Maybe the distance had just been in her head. She untied the ribbon with careful fingers and lifted the lid. Inside, nestled in tissue paper, were rows of artisan chocolates. Each piece was a work of art. Swirls of dark and white chocolate, gold leaf accents, shapes that looked almost too beautiful to eat. The brand name embossed on the box interior made her inhale sharply. She'd seen this brand in the window of that fancy shop in the city. $200 at least. Aaron lifted one piece, examining it in the light. The chocolate had a strange, almost oily sheen. She brought it to her nose. The scent was rich, bitter, but underneath, something else. Medicinal? No, she was imagining things. She set it back in the box and closed the lid. These chocolates were too good for her alone. They were meant to be shared, celebrated. And she knew exactly who would appreciate them. Lauren and the kids. Emma and Mason loved sweets, and Lord knew Lauren deserved something nice. Maybe this gift could be a bridge, a way to ease the tension that had somehow grown between them. Yes, that's what she'd do. The drive to Zachary's house took 40 minutes through winding country roads that gave way to manicured Connecticut suburbs. Aaron had made this journey hundreds of times, but lately each visit felt more like trespassing. She pulled into the circular driveway of the colonial-style home, the home she'd helped with the down payment for, though Zachary seemed to have forgotten that. The lawn was immaculate, the shutters freshly painted. Everything looked perfect from the outside. She gathered the re-wrapped box and walked to the front door, her heart doing that nervous flutter it always did now when visiting. She rang the bell and waited. Lauren answered, and Aaron saw the smile form and freeze in the same instant. Polite but not warm, the kind of smile you'd give a solicitor you were too well-mannered to dismiss immediately. "Aaron, hi. Not Mom, not anymore, just Aaron. What brings you by? I got this for my birthday, Aaron said, holding out the box. From Zachary. But you know me. I'll never eat all these myself. I thought the kids might enjoy them. Something flickered across Lauren's face. Surprise? Or was it something else? Fear. But it passed so quickly Aaron thought she'd imagined it. From Zachary? Lauren's voice held an odd note. He sent you chocolates? Arrived this morning. Special delivery. Lauren took the box, her fingers careful on the ribbon. That's very sweet of him. The words sounded automatic, scripted. The kids will love these. Through the doorway, Aaron could hear the television, the sounds of children's laughter. Mason's voice shouted something about a video game. So close, but Lauren's body blocked the entrance, a human barrier. Can I? Aaron started. They're actually just sitting down to breakfast, Lauren interrupted, her smile fixed. It's been a long morning. Maybe another time would be better? The rejection landed like a physical blow, but Aaron kept her own smile in place. Of course. I understand. You're busy. Thanks for thinking of us. Lauren was already stepping back, already closing the door. I'll make sure they know these are from Grandma. The door shut with a soft click. Aaron stood on the porch for a moment, the autumn air cool on her face. Through the window beside the door, she could see Lauren's silhouette moving away, the black box in her hands. Could hear muffled voices, Lauren saying something sharp. She walked back to her car, trying to ignore the ache in her chest. She'd done a good thing. She'd shared. That's what mattered. Isn't it? The phone rang at 7:30 the next morning, drilling into Aaron's dream. She fumbled for it on the nightstand, knocking over her reading glasses. Hello? Her voice came out rough with sleep. Mom? Zachary's voice was taut as a wire. Did you eat the chocolates? Aaron blinked, pulling herself upright. The urgency in his tone sent adrenaline spiking through her system. What? The chocolates I sent you. Did you eat them? Each word was clipped, controlled, but underneath she heard something wild. Panic? No, it couldn't be. She was still half asleep, misreading him. No, I gave them to Lauren and the kids. You know how much they love— You what? The explosion of sound made her pull the phone from her ear. She'd never heard him yell like that. Not even as a teenager, not even during his worst tantrums. Zachary, what's wrong? I just thought— All of them? His breathing was harsh, rapid. Did you eat any? Even one piece? No, I gave her the whole box yesterday. Zachary, you're scaring me. Jesus Christ, oh Jesus Christ. He wasn't talking to her now, just muttering to himself. You stupid, how could you— Do you have any idea what I've done? Her own voice rose, the confusion sharpening into something else. Suspicion. It was a gift, wasn't it? Why does it matter if I shared it? It matters because— He stopped abruptly. She could hear him breathing, harsh and ragged. Did the kids eat any? How many pieces did they eat? The specificity of the question made her stomach turn over. I don't know. I left the box with Lauren. Why? Zachary, why are you asking me this? Forget it. Just forget it. I will not forget it. You send me chocolates for my birthday, then call me screaming about whether I ate them. What is going on? Silence stretched between them, broken only by his breathing. You really didn't try even one? He finally asked, and this time she heard it clearly. Relief. He was relieved she hadn't eaten them. Her hand tightened on the phone. No. Thank God. He breathed it like a prayer. Thank God you're okay. You're okay. Not they're okay. Not concern for his own children who'd presumably eaten the chocolates. Just relief that she was okay. Zachary. The line went dead. Aaron sat in bed, phone still pressed to her ear, listening to the dial tone. Her heart hammered against her ribs. Her hands shook. Something was wrong. Something was terribly, horribly wrong. She replayed the conversation in her mind. His panic when he learned she'd given the chocolates away. His specific questions about whether she'd eaten any. His relief. his profound, unmistakable relief that she hadn't. Why would he be relieved she hadn't eaten his own gift? Unless it wasn't safe to eat. Unless he'd known it wasn't safe. Unless... No, that was insane. Mothers didn't think things like that about their sons. Sons didn't... The phone rang again, making her jump. Lauren's name on the screen. Lauren? Aaron. The voice was tight, controlled, but underneath, terror. The kids are sick. We're at the hospital. Staten Island Medical Center's emergency room smelled of antiseptic and fear. Erin burst through the automatic doors, her purse clutched to her chest, her breath coming in gasps from the run from the parking lot. The waiting room was half full, a man holding a bloody towel to his hand, a woman cradling a crying toddler, a teenager slumped in a chair looking gray. Erin scanned desperately until she spotted Zachary, pacing near the hallway to the treatment rooms. He looked up as she approached. The color drained from his face. "Mom," the word came out strangled. You look fine. Not thank God you're here. Not the kids need you. Just that observation, delivered with shock. With something that looked almost like disappointment. "Where are Emma and Mason?" Erin demanded. "Where's Lauren?" "Back there." He gestured vaguely toward the restricted area. "They won't let me in. She won't let me see them." What happened? Food poisoning. He wouldn't meet her eyes. Started last night. Vomiting, seizures. His voice cracked. It got really bad. Erin moved past him toward the nurse's station, but he caught her arm. His grip was too tight. "You really feel okay?" he asked, searching her face. "No stomach pain? Nausea? Anything?" She pulled her arm free, disturbed by the intensity of his stare. "I'm fine. I didn't eat the chocolates, remember? You already asked me that." "Right." He released her, ran a hand through his hair. It was unwashed, greasy. He looked like he hadn't slept. "Right. You gave them away." "Excuse me?" Erin addressed the nurse behind the counter. "Emma and Mason Lewis? I'm their grandmother." The nurse checked her computer. "Room 7. But only one visitor at a time, and the mother's already..." Erin was already moving. She found them in a curtained-off bay, Emma and Mason in adjacent beds, both with IVs in their small arms. They looked so pale, so fragile. Emma's eyes were closed, her breathing shallow. Mason was awake but listless, staring at nothing. Lauren sat between them, holding Emma's hand. She looked up when Erin entered, and her expression crumpled. "They ate them after dinner," Lauren whispered. "I was doing dishes. They got into the box and ate, I don't know how many, maybe 5 or 6 pieces each before I noticed." "What did the doctors say?" "They're running tests. They think it's food poisoning, but..." Lauren's voice dropped even lower. "Erin, the doctor asked me if we had any enemies, if anyone would want to hurt the kids." The words hung in the air between them. "Why would they ask that?" Erin asked, though she thought she knew. "Because Emma's symptoms are consistent with..." Lauren swallowed hard. "With poisoning. Actual poisoning." The fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A monitor beeped steadily, marking Mason's heartbeat. Erin felt the room tilt. "The chocolates," she heard herself say. Lauren nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "They're testing them now." "But Erin..." She looked up, her eyes red-rimmed and searching. "Zachary gave those to you. For your birthday? Why would there be poison in chocolates he sent his own mother?" The question Erin had been trying not to ask herself. The question whose answer she couldn't bear to voice. A doctor entered, young and grim-faced. "Mrs. Lewis, we have the preliminary toxicology results." They both stood. "Your children ingested a significant amount of arsenic," the doctor said without preamble. "We've begun chelation therapy, but the next 24 hours are critical. Can you think of any possible source? Any old paint in the house? Pesticides? Anything?" "The chocolates," Lauren said. "We brought them. They're being tested." The doctor nodded. "The police will want to speak with you. This is now a criminal investigation." Arsenic. The word echoed in Erin's mind. Not accidental food poisoning, not contamination at a factory. Arsenic, the murderer's poison, the stuff of detective novels and true crime shows. Arsenic that Zachary had gift-wrapped and sent to her door. She walked back to the waiting room on autopilot, her mind refusing to fully process what she'd learned. Zachary was still there, now slumped in a chair, his head in his hands. He looked up as she approached, searched her face. "They're going to be okay?" he asked. "Maybe." Aaron sat down across from him, studying him like he was a stranger. Because maybe he was. Maybe he always had been. The doctors are doing what they can. What did they say it was? A virus? She watched his face carefully. Arsenic poisoning. He flinched. Just a tiny contraction of muscles around his eyes, but she saw it. Recognition, not surprise. That's crazy, he said. How would they get arsenic? From the chocolates, Zachary. The ones you sent me. His face went blank, carefully neutral. That's impossible. I bought them from Maison Noire. It's an expensive place, reputable. They wouldn't... When did you buy them? The question seemed to catch him off guard. What? When did you buy them? How long were they in your possession before you mailed them? I don't remember. A few days? What does it matter? It matters because someone put arsenic in chocolates meant for me. She said it clearly, watching his reaction. And my grandchildren ate them instead. You think He stood abruptly. You actually think I would poison my own kids? They weren't supposed to eat them, were they? The words came out before she could stop them, before she'd fully admitted to herself what she was thinking. But once spoken, they couldn't be taken back. Zachary stared at her, his mouth opening and closing. His face cycled through expressions, shock, outrage, fear, and finally, something cold and calculating. You're insane, he said quietly. Grief and age have made you paranoid. Then why did you call me this morning panicking about whether I'd eaten them? Because I was worried about you. No. Aaron stood facing him. She was shorter than him, had been since he turned 13, but right now she felt 10 feet tall. You were relieved. I heard it in your voice. You were relieved I hadn't eaten them, but you never once asked if the kids had. You already knew they had. I'm not listening to this. He grabbed his jacket from the chair. My children are fighting for their lives, and you're accusing me of... I'm leaving. Running away? The words were acid. That's new for you. He turned back, his face twisted with something ugly. You want to know the truth, Mom? You want to know why I'm relieved you're okay? Because I'm tired. I'm tired of the calls, the guilt trips, the constant neediness. I'm tired of pretending I'm grateful you adopted me when my real parents died. I'm tired of you. Each word was a blade. She'd known on some level that he'd grown distant, but hearing it spoken aloud, hearing the venom in his voice. Get out, she whispered. Gladly. He strode toward the exit. At the doors he paused, looked back. Don't call me again. Don't come to my house. We're done. Then he was gone, the automatic doors sliding shut behind him. Aaron stood in the middle of the waiting room, trembling. The other patients carefully avoided looking at her. A mother whose son had just disowned her in a hospital waiting room. How pathetic. But underneath the hurt, underneath the shock, a cold clarity was forming. Zachary hadn't denied it. Not really. He'd deflected, attacked, run. But he hadn't looked her in the eye and said, I didn't try to poison you. Because he had. Her own son had tried to kill her. The hours blurred together. Aaron stayed at the hospital, tucked in a corner of the waiting room, while Lauren remained with the children. Nurses came and went. Doctors consulted in hushed tones. Police arrived, took statements, bagged the chocolate box as evidence. As night fell, a nurse finally emerged with news. Emma and Mason were stable. Critical, but stable. They'd survived the worst of it. Aaron cried then, relief flooding through her. They were going to live. Her grandchildren were going to live. Around midnight, Lauren came out. She looked like a ghost, pale and hollow-eyed. "They're sleeping," she said, sinking into the chair beside Aaron. "The doctor says the next few days will tell if there's any permanent damage. Kidney, liver." Her voice trailed off. They sat in silence for a long moment. "He tried to kill you," Lauren finally said. It wasn't a question. "Yes. And I've been so awful to you. He told me you were overbearing, that you criticized how we raised the kids, that you judged me." Lauren's laugh was bitter. "I believed him. I kept you at arm's length because of his lies. You didn't know. I should have known." Lauren turned to look at her, tears streaming down her face. What kind of man poisons his own mother? What kind of man risks killing his own children? Aaron had no answer. The Zachary she'd raised, the little boy who'd cried in her arms after nightmares, who'd brought her dandelions from the yard, that boy wouldn't have done this. But maybe that boy had never existed. Maybe she'd invented him, seen what she wanted to see. "What do we do now?" Lauren asked. The question hung between them, the question that would define everything that came after. Aaron thought about Zachary's face in the hospital, the relief when he saw she was alive, the calculation, the cruelty. She thought about 40 years of sacrifice, of love given freely and completely. She thought about nearly dying because she'd trusted her own son. "We find out everything," Aaron said, her voice harder than she'd known it could be. "We find out why. We find out who he really is. And then—" She paused, something new and dangerous coiling in her chest. "Then we make sure he never hurts anyone again." Lauren nodded slowly. In that moment, an alliance formed. Two women who'd both been betrayed, who'd both nearly lost everything. "Okay," Lauren whispered. "Okay." Outside the hospital windows, the night pressed dark and cold against the glass. Somewhere out there, Zachary was running, thinking he'd gotten away with it. He had no idea what he'd unleashed. The victim he'd tried to create had just decided to become something else entirely. 3 days after the poisoning, Erin sat in her kitchen, surrounded by silence. The house felt different now, not like home, but like a crime scene. The chair where Zachary used to sit during Sunday dinners looked foreign. The photographs on this wall belonged to a story she no longer believed. The police had taken her statement twice. Young Detective Martinez had been patient, thorough, and clearly skeptical. "These cases are complicated," she'd said carefully. "Family dynamics, misunderstandings, misunderstanding," as if Erin had somehow misunderstood her own near death. The lab results confirmed it. 40 milligrams of arsenic per chocolate, enough to kill within hours. Maison Noire had been contacted. Their chocolates contained no arsenic. Someone had injected it post-purchase. Someone named Zachary Lewis. Erin picked up her phone and called Mitchell Brooks, her family lawyer. "Erin," he answered. "I heard about the children. How are they?" "Recovering. Mitchell, I need to know everything about my son's life. His finances, his associates, his movements, everything." A pause. "That's investigative work. The police are handling—" "The police think I'm a confused old woman." Her voice came out cold, unfamiliar. "Can you help me, or do I need to find someone else?" "I know someone. Former NYPD detective, does private investigation. His name is Robert Kane." "Set up a meeting." Robert Kane's office occupied the 3rd floor of a nondescript Manhattan building. When he emerged from the inner office, Erin saw immediately why Mitchell had recommended him. He had cop eyes, the kind that saw everything and judged nothing. His office was spare but professional. Framed commendations on the wall, family photos on the desk. "So," he said, pulling out a legal pad, "your son tried to poison you. What are you hoping I can find that the police won't?" "Motive. I need to understand why." "You think it's about money. Isn't everything?" Kane studied her. "Most people in your position would be in denial. I spent 3 days watching my grandchildren fight for their lives because of chocolates meant for me." Erin's voice remained steady. "I'm past denial." He nodded. What do you know about your son's financial situation? He's an accountant, makes maybe $90,000 a year, owns his home. I helped with the down payment. $50,000 7 years ago. Any other financial connections? I was hospitalized last year, pneumonia. Zachary had temporary power of attorney. She paused. He seemed strange after. Asked odd questions about my retirement accounts. I thought he was concerned. Kane's pen moved faster. Did he have access to your financial documents? They were in my file cabinet at home. How much are we talking about, Mrs. Lewis? She hesitated, then $380,000. Retirement savings, life insurance for my husband, investments. I live simply. Kane whistled. Does Zachary know about all of it? I don't think so. The main account has maybe $150,000. The rest is split between CDs, money market, stocks. So he might have thought it was less. Probably. Kane leaned back. This gets expensive. I charge $150 an hour plus expenses. We're looking at $10,000 to $15,000 minimum. Will you take a retainer of $20,000? He blinked. Yes, ma'am. Erin pulled out her checkbook. Her hand didn't shake as she wrote. I need you to understand something, Kane said. I might find out your son is in serious trouble. Gambling, drugs, debt to dangerous people. Are you prepared? Mr. Kane, my son put arsenic in chocolates and mailed them to me. I'm prepared for anything. 10. 1 week later, Erin returned to Kane's office. A thick file folder waited on his desk. You're not going to like this, he said. Show me. Kane spread documents across the desk. Bank statements, credit reports, photographs. Each one a small revelation. Your son has a gambling problem. Serious one. Started about 8 months ago. Online betting, poker, stock speculation. He pushed forward a spreadsheet. He's maxed out 4 credit cards. Total debt, $42,000. And that's just the legal stuff. He pulled out photographs. Zachary at Atlantic City casinos. Zachary at underground poker games. Zachary meeting with a man who radiated menace. He's into loan sharks. This guy, Vincent Romano, runs an operation out of Brooklyn. Your son owes him $65,000. The number hit like a blow. $65,000. Plus the $42,000 in credit card debt. Over $100,000 total. There's more. Kane pulled out another document. 6 months ago, Zachary took out a second mortgage. $300,000. Told the bank it was for renovations. Did Lauren know? I spoke to her. She had no idea. He forged her signature. Erin closed her eyes. Forgery. Fraud. And Lauren, working to keep their home nice, never knowing her husband was destroying everything. Where did the $300,000 go? Paid off some gambling debts, bought 6 months of breathing room, but he burned through it. Gambled more, trying to win back what he'd lost. Kane's expression was grim. Classic addict behavior. Twist number 3, the depth of deception. Erin looked at the timeline, the hospitalization where Zachary got power of attorney, his discovery of her savings, the gambling spiral, the loan sharks, the forged mortgage, and then, 3 months ago, the purchase of arsenic from a dark web vendor. Kane had the receipts, the Bitcoin transaction. Zachary had researched lethal dosages, injection methods, how to make it look like a heart attack. He planned this, Erin said softly. For 3 months. Yes, ma'am. While coming to Sunday dinner, while calling me Mom. Yes. She looked at the photographs. Zachary, the baby she'd adopted at 2 years old. She'd raised him, loved him, sacrificed everything. And he'd calculated her death like an accounting problem. What will Romano do when Zachary can't pay? Kane's jaw tightened. He'll take the house first. Then he'll hurt Zachary. Then, if that doesn't produce money, he'll go after the family. Make an example. He'd hurt Lauren, the children? Not directly, but he'd make them watch what happens to Zachary. Erin felt something cold settle in her chest. Zachary deserved whatever came to him, but Emma and Mason didn't. How much time before Romano moves? Maybe 2 weeks. He's been patient because of the police investigation, but his patience has limits. Aaron looked at Kane's family photo on his desk, wife and 2 daughters, smiling. Can you arrange a meeting with Romano? Kane's head snapped up. What? No, absolutely not. I'm a 69-year-old woman whose son just tried to poison her. What's the worst thing he can do to me? Mrs. Lewis, I need to protect my daughter-in-law and grandchildren. Can you arrange it, or do I find him myself? Kane stared at her, then slowly picked up his phone. You're either the bravest woman I've ever met, he said as he dialed, or the craziest. Maybe both. Vincent Romano's social club occupied a Bensonhurst storefront. Through the window, Aaron could see men playing cards, drinking espresso. Kane had insisted on coming. Mitchell, too, though he looked ill with anxiety. Aaron pushed open the door. 6 men turned to stare. One started to rise, hand moving toward his jacket. I'm here to see Vincent Romano, Aaron said clearly. I'm Zachary Lewis's mother. The oldest man at the back table laughed, gray hair slicked back, expensive tracksuit. Come to beg for her baby boy? Romano's Brooklyn accent was thick. No, Aaron said, walking toward him. The men parted. I came to buy his debt. Romano's eyebrows rose. He gestured to a chair. Sit. Espresso? Just water. He snapped his fingers. A young man hurried to comply. Romano studied her with dark, intelligent eyes. You know what your son owes me? $65,000. Plus interest. Call it $72,000 now. I'll give you $75,000. Cash. Tomorrow. The room went quiet. Why? Romano leaned forward. He tried to kill you. I heard about the chocolates. You should let me handle him my way. My grandchildren don't need to watch their father get his legs broken. Romano laughed. Just his legs. You think that's all we do? I don't care what you do. I care about protecting Emma and Mason. Aaron's voice didn't waver. $75,000 for the debt. But the debt transfers to me. I own it. You have no further claim on Zachary or his family. Romano studied her, then burst into laughter. Madonna, I like you. You got balls, lady. He extended his hand. Deal. They shook. You're scarier than me, Romano said, grinning. That kid has no idea what he's unleashed. No, Aaron agreed. He doesn't. Twist number 4. Aaron's true plan emerges. Outside, Mitchell finally found his voice. You just paid $75,000 for your son's debt. Yes. That won't get you justice. No, Aaron agreed. But it protects Lauren and the kids, and it gives me leverage. Kane shot her a look. Leverage for what? Aaron smiled, and it was not kind. Zachary thought I'd be an easy target, but I'm not playing victim anymore. I'm playing chess. What's your end game? Complete dismantling of everything he's built. His freedom, his reputation, his future. But first, I need to find him. I know where he is, Kane said. Your sister's house, Grace Abbott. Of course, Grace, who'd always enabled Zachary. Then that's where we're going. But first, get me a recording device. Mitchell groaned. Aaron, the police think I'm confused. The DA isn't sure there's enough evidence, so I'm getting the evidence myself. She looked at both men. Are you helping, or am I doing this alone? Grace Abbott's house sat on a quiet Yonkers street. Aaron checked the recording device in her purse. Professional grade. Voice activated. She rang the doorbell. Grace answered, her face cycling through emotions. Aaron? Grace, I know he's here. He's my nephew. He's a murderer. He said you'd say that. Said you were turning everyone against him. Grace blocked the door. You were always jealous of how close we were. The absurdity almost made Aaron laugh. Grace, those children almost died. Emma had seizures. Mason's kidneys nearly failed. He says it was contamination at the factory. The factory confirmed their chocolates were clean. Aaron stepped closer. Let me talk to him. Grace wavered, then stepped aside. Zachary was in the living room, slumped on the couch. Unshaven, hollow-eyed, wearing the same clothes. He looked up and relief crossed his face. Mom. Don't call me that. He flinched. I can explain. Good. Explain. Erin sat, her purse positioned carefully. Explain the 40 milligrams of arsenic per chocolate. Grace hovered in the doorway. It wasn't supposed to. Zachary stopped, ran his hands through his hair. I didn't mean for the kids to get hurt. But you meant for me to get hurt. Silence. Say it, Erin demanded. Stop lying. Say it. I was desperate. For what? The dam broke. Money. I owed people. Romano's crew. They were going to kill me. And I saw your bank statements last year when you were in the hospital. $150,000. So you decided to kill me for it. I didn't know what else to do. Tears streamed down his face. I tried everything. I gambled more. Took out a second mortgage. But the debt kept growing. They threatened Lauren, the kids. I was out of options. You could have asked me for help. And listened to you lecture me? Watch you look at me with disappointment? His face twisted. You were always so perfect. I was never good enough. So you decided to murder me. Twist number 5, the deeper wound. Zachary looked at her, and in his eyes was complete disconnection. You weren't my real mother anyway, he said quietly. My real mother died in that crash. You were just the woman who took me in. The substitute. Grace gasped. I never loved you, Zachary continued. Not really. Maybe when I was little. But once I understood adoption, he shrugged. You were an obligation, a burden, and eventually, an opportunity. Erin sat very still. This was worse than the poison. When did you decide to kill me? 3 months ago. Bought the arsenic online. Researched the dosage. Got the chocolates from Maison Noire. Spent $200. He laughed bitterly. I was broke, but bought you expensive chocolates to poison. How are you going to do it? Inject the arsenic with a syringe. Seal it back up. Mail it for your birthday. You'd eat them, die within hours. Heart attack. You're old. It happens. He spoke mechanically. I'd inherit the $150,000. Pay off Romano. Start over. And when I gave them to Lauren? I panicked. Called you, hoping you'd eaten at least one. But you gave them all away, and I knew Emma and Mason would eat them. Lauren always lets them have sweets. He looked up, and there was no remorse, only self-pity. This is your fault. If you'd just eaten them like you were supposed to, none of this would have happened. Erin stood slowly. The recorder had everything. You're right about one thing, she said quietly. I'm not your real mother. Your real mother would be ashamed. She looked at Grace. You heard what he is. You still want to protect him? Grace's mouth opened. No words came. Erin turned to Zachary. I adopted you because I loved you. I gave you everything. And this is what you became. Mom, I'm not your mother anymore. Mothers protect. What I'm going to do to you is neither protection nor nurture. She walked to the door, paused. You should have killed me when you had the chance, because what comes next will make you wish you had. She left them in stunned silence. In the car, she handed the device to Kane. You got it? Every word. His full confession. Mitchell stared. Erin, what are you going to do? She looked at Grace's house, at the life Zachary had ruined. I'm going to destroy him, she said simply. Methodically, completely. The way he planned to destroy me. And then? Then I'm going to live. Really live. For the first time in 40 years. As they drove away, Erin felt something she hadn't felt in years. Not happiness, but purpose. And that was enough. Mitchell Brooks's office had become Erin's war room. The conference table was covered with documents, police reports, bank statements, the recorded confession, photographs. 1 month had passed since the confrontation at Grace's house, and Aaron had spent every day planning. "The DA's office is moving forward with charges," Mitchell said, reviewing his notes. "Attempted first-degree murder, 2 counts of reckless endangerment for the children, fraud for the forged mortgage documents. The recording sealed it. When's the arraignment?" "Next week." "But Aaron, I need to ask, is criminal prosecution enough for you?" She looked up from the photo of Zachary she'd been studying. "What do you mean?" "You paid Romano $75,000. You've spent $20,000 on the investigation. That's nearly $100,000 out of pocket for..." "What? Revenge?" "Justice," Aaron corrected. "And protection for Lauren and the children." "But what about you? What do you get out of this?" Aaron was quiet for a moment. "Peace," she finally said. "I get to know that I didn't just roll over and die, that I fought back." Mitchell nodded slowly. "Then let's make sure we do this right. I've drafted a civil suit for emotional damages, $500,000. He doesn't have $500,000. No, but any future earnings will be garnished. Any inheritance he might receive from other sources. We make sure he never profits from what he did." "Good." Aaron turned to the next item on her list. "What about the house?" "I've prepared the paperwork to transfer it entirely into Lauren's name. With the forged mortgage documents as evidence, we can make a case that the second mortgage is invalid. She'd own the property free and clear." "Do it." Mitchell made a note. "You know this is going to be public, right? The media has already picked up the story. 'Son poisons elderly mother' is the kind of headline that goes viral." "Let it go viral," Aaron said. "I want everyone to know who Zachary Lewis really is." The call came 2 days later from Channel 5 News. Would Mrs. Lewis be willing to give an interview about her experience? Aaron said yes. She prepared carefully. Not the dowdy cardigans she usually wore, but a tailored navy suit that Lauren helped her pick out. Simple makeup that made her look dignified rather than frail. She practiced her talking points with Mitchell, who insisted on being present during the interview. The reporter, Amanda Chen, was in her 30s, professional, sympathetic without being condescending. "Mrs. Lewis, thank you for speaking with us. Can you tell us what happened on your 69th birthday?" Aaron told the story clearly, without melodrama. The chocolates arriving, her decision to share them, the phone call, the hospital, the children fighting for their lives. "How did you discover your son was responsible?" "His reaction told me everything. He was relieved I hadn't eaten the chocolates, but he never asked about his own children. A father would ask about his children first." The police confirmed the chocolates contained lethal amounts of arsenic, 40 milligrams per piece. If I'd eaten 3 or 4, I would have died within hours. Amanda leaned forward. "How does a mother process that her own son tried to kill her?" Aaron met her eyes steadily. "By accepting that the son I raised died a long time ago. The man who tried to poison me is a stranger wearing my son's face." "What do you want people to know about elder abuse?" "That it's not always visible, not always bruises or broken bones. Sometimes it's financial manipulation, emotional control, and sometimes," her voice hardened, "sometimes it's arsenic and birthday chocolates." The interview aired that evening. By midnight, it had been shared 10,000 times on social media. By morning, it was national news. Aaron's phone rang constantly. Other news outlets requesting interviews, magazines wanting her story, victims of elder abuse reaching out to share their own experiences. She granted 3 more interviews, each one carefully calculated to control the narrative. The public response was overwhelming. Support poured in from across the country, but so did the consequences for Zachary. His employer, a respected Manhattan accounting firm, terminated him immediately. "We cannot employ someone facing attempted murder charges," their statement read. His professional license was suspended pending the criminal trial. His neighbors in Connecticut posted about him on local Facebook groups, warning others to stay away. Zachary Lewis became a pariah overnight. Aaron watched it all unfold with grim satisfaction. But late at night, alone in her house, doubt crept in. I don't recognize myself anymore, Erin told Dr. Patricia Hayes during their first therapy session. Mitchell had insisted she see someone. You're going through trauma, he'd said. Even justified anger needs processing. Dr. Hayes was in her 50s with kind eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. What don't you recognize? I'm planning my son's destruction methodically, and I feel nothing. No guilt, no second thoughts. Is that wrong? You're processing attempted murder by someone you loved for 40 years. There's no wrong way to feel. But I should feel something, shouldn't I? Sadness? Regret? Do you feel those things? Erin considered. Sometimes. Late at night, I'll remember him as a little boy, how he'd crawl into bed during thunderstorms, how proud he was on his first day of school. Her voice caught. But then I remember that he spent 3 months planning to murder me. And those memories feel like they belong to someone else's life. The person you're destroying isn't that little boy, Dr. Hayes said gently. That little boy is already gone. You're holding accountable the man who chose to become a killer. What if I made him this way? What if my parenting... Did you teach him to gamble compulsively? No. Did you teach him to forge documents? No. Did you teach him that murder was an acceptable solution to debt? Of course not. Then you didn't make him this way. He made choices, consistently, over years. Dr. Hayes leaned forward. Erin, you can mourn the son you thought you had while still pursuing justice against the man he actually is. Those two things aren't contradictory. The session helped, but Erin still scheduled weekly appointments. Because Dr. Hayes was right, processing this would take time. Lauren requested a meeting at a coffee shop in Manhattan. When Erin arrived, her daughter-in-law looked different. Thinner, harder, but also somehow stronger. I'm filing for divorce, Lauren said without preamble. My lawyer says with the attempted murder charges and the fraud, it should be straightforward. How are the children? Recovering. Physically, they're okay. Emotionally, Lauren's voice wavered. Emma has nightmares. Mason asks why Daddy tried to hurt Grandma. How do you explain that to a 6-year-old? You tell them the truth, age appropriately, that their father was sick and made a terrible choice. Lauren nodded, then pulled out a folder. I found these in Zachary's desk. Journals, going back 2 years. Erin opened the folder, page after page of Zachary's handwriting, financial calculations, fantasies about inheriting money, plans. Mom's getting older. How much longer, realistically? Another 10, 15 years? That's too long. I need the money now. Life insurance policy? No, she doesn't have one big enough. The savings account, though, that's the key. Poison would be cleanest. Make it look natural. She's old. Who would question a heart attack? The entries went back 24 months. This wasn't a desperate act born of immediate crisis. This was long-term planning, cold calculation. He's been thinking about killing you for 2 years, Lauren whispered, while bouncing Emma on his knee, while kissing me goodnight, while playing the devoted son. Erin closed the folder carefully. Thank you for showing me this. The DA's office has copies. My lawyer says it proves premeditation beyond any doubt. Lauren's hands shook as she reached for her coffee. Erin, I'm sorry. For all the times I was cold to you, all the times I kept you at arm's length. He poisoned me against you just as surely as he tried to poison you with arsenic. You didn't know. I should have seen it. The lies, the manipulation. I was a nurse. I'm trained to spot patterns. Tears spilled down her cheeks. But I loved him, and love makes you blind. Erin reached across the table, took Lauren's hand. We were both blind, but we're not anymore. Then, climax number 2, the trial. The trial began on a cold January morning, 8 months after the poisoning. Manhattan Criminal Court was packed. Reporters, curious onlookers, victims' rights advocates. Erin sat in the front row with Lauren and Mitchell. Emma and Mason were with Lauren's mother, spared the spectacle. Zachary was brought in wearing an ill-fitting suit, his public defender beside him. He'd lost weight in jail, looked gaunt and gray. When he saw Aaron, something flickered in his eyes. Regret? Resentment? She couldn't tell anymore. The prosecution's case was devastating. They presented the arsenic purchase records, Bitcoin transactions traced to Zachary's IP address, the packaging materials found in his apartment, the journals detailing his plans, the recorded confession from Grace's house, played for the entire courtroom. Aaron's own voice. "When did you decide to kill me?" Zachary's voice. 3 months ago. Bought the arsenic online." The jury listened with growing horror. Medical experts testified about the children's condition. "Without immediate intervention, both children would have died," Dr. Patel stated. "The arsenic levels were catastrophic." Lauren testified about the forged mortgage, the hidden gambling, the systematic deception. Her voice never wavered. Then it was Erin's turn. She walked to the witness stand with her head high. The prosecutor, a sharp woman named Jennifer Ortiz, approached with respect. "Mrs. Lewis, how would you describe your relationship with your son before this incident?" "I loved him unconditionally," Erin said simply. "He was my whole world." "Did he ever give you reason to fear him?" "No. That's what makes this so devastating. I trusted him completely." "Can you describe your emotional state when you learned what he'd done?" Erin looked directly at Zachary. He couldn't hold her gaze. "Shattered," she said, "but not surprised. When someone tries to kill you, you realize you never really knew them at all." The defense's cross-examination was weak. The public defender, clearly overwhelmed, tried to suggest Zachary had been suffering from gambling addiction, that it was a disease, that he hadn't been in his right mind. "Mrs. Lewis, isn't it true your son was under extreme psychological pressure?" "He was under pressure he created through his own choices." "But addiction is a disease. Addiction might explain gambling. It doesn't explain 3 months of premeditated murder planning." Erin's voice cut like steel. "It doesn't explain injecting poison into chocolates. It doesn't explain risking his own children's lives." The public defender had no response. When Zachary took the stand, he tried to generate sympathy, talked about the pressure, the threats from loan sharks, his desperation. But then Prosecutor Ortiz asked, "Mr. Lewis, did you know the chocolates would likely be shared with your children?" I thought Mom would eat them herself." "But you knew your wife lets the children have sweets after dinner, didn't you?" "Sometimes." "And when your mother told you she'd given the chocolates to your family, what was your first emotion? Relief she was alive, or panic that you'd failed?" Zachary's face went blank. "I don't remember." "We have the recording. You said, 'Oh, Jesus Christ, you stupid.' Those were your words. Not concern for your children. Anger at your mother for surviving." The jury's expressions hardened. The defense rested after only 2 days. They had nothing. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. "On the count of attempted first-degree murder, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of reckless endangerment of a child, Emma Lewis, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of reckless endangerment of a child, Mason Lewis, how do you find?" "Guilty." "On the count of fraud, how do you find?" "Guilty." Zachary slumped in his chair. Lauren squeezed Erin's hand. Erin felt not triumph, not quite, but closure. The legal system had confirmed what she'd known. She was the victim. He was the criminal. The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. Sentencing day, the judge was a stern woman in her 60s named Margaret Chen. "Mr. Lewis," she said, looking at Zachary over her glasses, "I've reviewed your case extensively. I've read the journals, I've listened to the recordings, and I've seen the medical reports on what you did to your own children." Zachary stood, his lawyer beside him. This wasn't a crime of passion or momentary insanity. This was calculated, premeditated attempted murder. You researched poisons. You planned for months. You put your mother's life at risk and nearly killed your own children. The judge paused. "The prosecution has recommended 15 years. I'm inclined to agree. However, I'm also considering the impact on the victims." She looked at Erin. "Mrs. Lewis, would you like to make a statement?" Erin stood. She'd prepared remarks, practiced them with Mitchell, but standing there, facing Zachary one final time, different words came. Your Honor, I raised this man from age 2. I gave him everything. My love, my time, my savings, my life. I thought I was raising someone who'd contribute to the world. Instead, I raised someone who valued money over life. She turned to Zachary. I don't forgive you. I won't visit you in prison. I won't write. When you're released, if you're released, I don't want to hear from you. The son I loved is dead. You're just the man who killed him. She sat down. Judge Chen nodded. Mr. Lewis, I sentence you to 15 years in state prison for attempted murder, concurrent sentences on the child endangerment charges, consecutive 2 years for fraud. Total, 17 years. Eligible for parole after serving 12. The gavel came down. Zachary was led away in handcuffs. He looked back once at Erin. She looked away. 6 months after the trial, Erin's life had found a new rhythm. She'd sold the house, too many memories, and bought a modest condo in a different part of upstate New York. The civil suit had been settled, $300,000 in damages that Zachary would spend the rest of his life paying off. Lauren and the children visited every Sunday. Emma was in therapy but improving. Mason had mostly forgotten the worst of it, the resilience of childhood protecting him. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the prison. Erin stared at it for a long time before opening. Dear Mom, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did was unforgivable. But I want you to know that I'm getting help. Real help. Therapy, addiction counseling, everything. I remember the good times. The little league games you never missed. How you stayed up with me when I had nightmares. That was real, wasn't it? I understand if you never want to hear from me again, but I needed you to know I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry. Zachary Erin read it twice. Then she sat down and wrote a response. Zachary, yes, those moments were real, but they don't erase what you became. They don't undo the poison, the lies, the calculated cruelty. I hope you find peace. I hope you become someone better. But we won't find peace together. That chance died when you mailed those chocolates. I'm building a new life now. I'm helping other victims of elder abuse. I'm finding purpose in pain, and I'm doing it without you. Take care of yourself. Erin Lewis. She signed it Erin, not Mom. That title was revoked permanently. She mailed it and felt a weight lift. Climax number 3, the parole hearing. 5 years later, Erin was 74. The foundation she'd started, the Lewis Foundation for Elder Dignity, now had 3 offices and had helped over 500 victims. She'd written a book, given speeches, found purpose. Then the notification came. Zachary was petitioning for early parole. Erin attended the hearing with Lauren, now remarried to a kind man named David. Emma, now 13, had asked to come. I want to see him face consequences, she'd said with a maturity beyond her years. The parole board consisted of 5 people, 3 women, 2 men. Zachary was brought in, wearing prison blues, his hair completely gray now, though he was only 47. His lawyer presented the case. Model prisoner, completed all programs, shown remorse, posed no danger. Then Zachary spoke. I was sick. Addiction controlled me. But I've spent 5 years working on myself. I'm not that person anymore. He looked at Erin. I'm sorry, Mom, for everything. The board turned to Erin. Mrs. Lewis, you have the right to speak. Erin stood. You called me Mom just now. You lost that right when you put arsenic in my birthday gift. She faced the board. I don't doubt he's sorry. Sorry he got caught. Sorry he's in prison. But true remorse means accepting full consequences. He was sentenced to 17 years. He served less than a third. Mrs. Lewis, he's completed all rehabilitation programs, and I've spent 5 years rebuilding my life, helping other victims, creating meaning from attempted murder. Her voice strengthened. I survived. I'm thriving, and I did it without him. He can do the same in 12 more years. Emma stood beside her. "He tried to kill my grandma. He poisoned me and my brother. I was 8 years old, and I almost died because my father valued money more than my life." Her young voice was clear, strong. He should serve his full sentence. The board deliberated for 20 minutes. "Petition for parole denied. Mr. Lewis will serve his full minimum sentence." Zachary's face collapsed, but he nodded slowly, as if he'd expected it. As Aaron left, he called out, "I did love you. Once." She paused but didn't turn. "I believe you. That's the saddest part." Then she walked out into the sunshine, Emma's hand in hers. Epilogue. At 74, Erin Lewis had found something she'd never had in 40 years of motherhood: herself. The foundation had expanded to 7 cities. She facilitated support groups twice a week. Women came, shared their stories, found their strength. "How do you forgive?" a new member asked one Thursday evening. "You don't have to," Erin replied. "Healing doesn't require forgiveness. It requires knowing your worth, protecting yourself, refusing to be diminished." After the meeting, Emma visited. Now 13, smart and kind, she'd written an essay about resilience. She read it aloud to Erin. The essay wasn't about the poisoning. It was about Erin, about how she'd taught Emma that strength isn't loud, it's steady. That survival is its own form of victory. "Grandma," Emma said, "you turned the worst thing that happened to you into something beautiful." Erin looked around her apartment, at the photos of the women she'd helped, at Lauren's family thriving, at the life she'd built from ashes. "Maybe that's the real revenge," she said softly. "Living so fully that his worst act became my liberation." That night, she stood at her window watching the city lights. Her phone rang. Lauren, sharing news that Mason had been accepted to advanced science program. The family was thriving. Emma and Mason were growing up strong, untainted by their father's poison. Lauren had found love again, and Erin had found herself. She'd spent 40 years being a mother, sacrificing, giving, diminishing herself for someone else's benefit. Someone who'd repaid her love with attempted murder. But that version of Erin had died with the poisoned chocolates. The woman who'd emerged was harder, yes, but also more whole, more authentic, more truly herself. "I spent 40 years being a mother," she said to her reflection. "Now I'm just Erin, and Erin is enough." Outside, the city hummed with life. Inside, Erin Lewis, survivor, advocate, warrior, finally felt at peace. Not happy exactly, but free. And that was everything.